Hello and welcome to Hello Yellow. As many of you who've been watching or listening know, that this is a great show where we get to meet some incredible, unique, inspiring, captivating, unbelievable characters. And one of those people is here with me today. She needs no title. Her name is Nalini Tranquim. Welcome to the program.
Oh my gosh, that was an intro.
Right? I've never done that for anyone else before. Because you have such an incredible story.
Oh.
Wow. Starting off as an author, singer, songwriter, inspirational speaker, and now, which we'll talk about today, working with domestic violence and women, which we will definitely get to because it's a lot.
Yeah.
But I want to go back to the beginning where it all began. The Orange Hue is your beautiful book, an autobiography that talks about the humble beginnings and some of the trials and tribulations that you encountered as a young girl. Tell us a little bit about your upbringing and.
Okay, so I was born in India.
Ah, wow.
Yeah. My father is Indian. He's originally from Mumbai, and my mum is from the UK, and they met in Zambia, as you do. And so they eloped, they got married, ended up living in the UK for some time, where my older brother was born. And then they moved to India, introduced the Indian family to this very Western woman.
Wow.
Which didn't go down very well.
I couldn't imagine.
Remember. But yeah, that was where I was born. And they decided to go back to Africa. They felt that they belonged there. That was where they were at their happiest. So I actually ended up growing up in Zimbabwe.
That would have been interesting.
Yeah, it was incredible. So, grew up being the odd one out more often than not,
And why was that?
I was the whitest in the room. In a classroom of about 60 students, I'd be the only pale-skinned face. So I knew from a very young age, I kind of always had this sense that I didn't quite fit. But yeah, it was challenging growing up there. I'll be honest with you. I loved it. It was incredible, but it had its challenges.
And how long were you there for?
Wow. I lived in Zimbabwe right up until I was 18. And so from a very young age, I had this dream of becoming an artist. And so my parents were so beautiful in supporting that dream. And so they got me piano lessons. I think I began when I was about 4 years of age. And so my whole childhood, I felt like I was preparing for leaving. Ultimately, I knew I wasn't going to be living in Zimbabwe my whole life. And so I felt like I was on this journey of preparation. And so, yeah, at 18 years of age, jumped on an airplane, left my whole family.
But you were with your partner, though, yes? Because I recall reading in your book where, the first time your fingers touched the piano, it was like, that was your.
I knew that was my
what you're meant to do,
yeah,
right?
100%. And I fell in love with a Mozambican gentleman. He and his family had fled the war in Mozambique, and they ended up in the exact same town that my family had moved to in Zimbabwe, which is crazy. So we were best friends as kids. And when I left for the UK, I had no idea if he was going to come. It was one of those, I know I've just got to go. I've just got to go. It's been in me my whole childhood. I can't hold back, I need to take this step.
So you go to the UK, and what do you do?
Okay, so I arrive in England and I just started hustling, man. I got a job. I was like, I've got to figure out how to do this. I was trying to adjust to this whole new culture that I knew very little about in reality, as much as Mum was English. I mean, I grew up in an African nation my whole childhood, so it was like learning a completely new language. And just started getting the ball rolling in terms of meeting producers and music managers and, having auditions and just getting myself ready for this thing that I've been preparing for my whole life, right? few months later, boyfriend arrives, and he came for Christmas. He came to surprise me. And wow, didn't just get Christmas as a surprise.
No, you got another surprise too, didn't
Got
you?
another surprise too. A couple of months later, discovered that I was pregnant. But I was actually 7 months pregnant.
Oh my
So
gosh.
I had arrived in the UK pregnant and just had no idea. I was so tiny. I just wasn't showing. And that just, wow, oh my goodness, I can't even articulate what that was like, hearing those words, that you are now pregnant. It was like all those dreams and everything that I've been preparing for is not going to happen.
And that's hard, you know, given that you were on a trajectory, you knew what you wanted to do. There was never any question. Very talented writer, singer, musician.
Yeah.
And then, you know, you've got your partner and then, of course, this beautiful thing growing inside of
Yeah.
you. So then he arrives. What do you do?
Look, I think after we got over the initial shock and just kind of went back to basics as a couple, it was evident that we were passionately in love with each other.
Mm-hmm.
There was no denying that. I mean, he was the love of my life. And we always wanted to be together in the long run. And so, is this a bad thing? You know, we kind of had this moment where we realized, hang on a second, but we love each other and this is our baby.
Yeah.
You know, and so this is a beautiful thing. And sure, we have the dream, you have the dream of music, but it doesn't mean it's over entirely. You know, you've got your whole life ahead of you. And oh my goodness, I mean, he could have walked, you know, he could have just gotten on a plane back to Africa and waved me goodbye, you know.
But I would sincerely doubt that a man that's captured your heart is going to have that value base, though. Seriously.
Oh my goodness! But the thought crossed, you know, it crossed my mind. But no, he was right there, and he was just like, "No, let's make this work. Let's just do this." And so we decided, okay, how about we get married? Like, let's just bring everything forward. Let's get married. I grew up in the church. You know, I was a Christian as a little girl, and so I knew about marriage, and you know, I was taught the whole no sex before marriage thing.
Which you obviously adhered to very well.
Oh my gosh.
Or was it divine intervention? You know.
No, I was like this little rebel, unfortunately. And so we decided to get married. And so we did. And we began this journey together. A couple of months later, literally, had this little baby in our arms. I was absolutely petrified. I mean, I was a child myself. But deep down, as much as I was, you know, in love with my man and besotted with this baby, deep down I had this silent ache on the inside of me, because it felt like, well, no one's going to touch me now. Like, no one's going to want a travelling musician with a baby on her arm, you know?
And I think, you know, whilst we're sort of going back to your childhood, you know, the points that you raise are very real for the modern day family today, whether it's a male or a female. But, you know, let's face it, a woman has to make a decision a lot of the time for career versus family. Less so now, but certainly in those days, there was a propensity for us to think, well, once you've had a child, then there goes all of your dreams.
Yes, absolutely.
And we're so lucky now that we don't have to really do that anymore, that we've sort of paved the way, but we're still not 100% there, and I know people still grapple with that. Women still grapple with that.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely. And I know for me, I mean, just while you were talking, it took me back to when I had a call from an AR manager, and he said, listen, can you come in? We've got an audition on Saturday morning. So he gave me the directions, right in the centre of London. So, you know, hubby, myself, little baby, we all trundle along to London. And I walk into a setting similar to this. They had a piano set up on the stage, and they said, okay, play for us. And hubby and little one were waiting outside. And I started playing the piano, and he put his hand up. And of course, the nerves just, you know, kind of kicked in, and he said, we love you.
Oh.
We love you. We go on tour in a couple of weeks, and we'll be gone for 9 months. Are you in? And my heart sunk, because, of course, I'm thinking of my husband and my baby out there. And I'm like, I can't leave. I can't leave my husband. I can't leave my little one now. And that only ratified that this is not going to happen, girl. Your dream's over. You know?
So then what did you do? And the reason why I'm unpacking all of this, which may sound a little bit benign for perhaps someone who's listening or watching going, wow, you know, this is a program that's all about adversity and opportunity. So what does that actually then do for you in that moment? How does your life then change?
Cool. Look, I walked into 3 years of really struggling to come to terms with this is my reality and being okay with it. But then I've got this internal wrestle because I'm like, but I'm so blessed. You know, I've got such a beautiful husband who loves me unconditionally. I've got this beautiful baby who I'm just obsessed with. And yet here you are.
Wanting more.
Wanting more.
Yeah. And how dare you?
And how dare you? Right. Yeah, exactly. So I lived for those 3 years with this silent ache. It was almost like I decided to bury those dreams, you know, lock it away as far into the crevices of my heart as possible, because I need to focus on what's immediately in front of me, and I just need to give this my all.
Meaning your family.
My family,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So my husband started a business. So we just kind of got on with making life work.
But don't you think that's the catch cry of a lot of broken dreams?
100%. We settle because it's the safest option. We put our walls up to protect, and we stop dreaming, you know? We silence it. And then we tolerate where we're at, putting on the smiles and pretending that everything's okay, you know, even with loved ones. We fake it. But deep down, there's this, I know there's more.
There's so much I could say and comment on that. And you know, and it's not about a female versus a male. I think a lot of people, regardless of your gender,
Yep.
and I think that is the catch cry of the middle age crisis, you know,
Yeah.
where people go, is this as good as it gets?
Yeah.
Because we forget where we started. I mean, we forget about that little girl stroking those first keys when she's 4 with big dreams and big ideas.
Yes.
And life gets in the way. And then you sort of say, but is it really that bad? Were my dreams real? And did I really need, want, deserve?
Right.
Is my life really that bad?
Exactly.
Which is also okay too, right?
Yes. Yeah.
You don't have to always be pushing for something more unless
Right. Yeah.
unless you really still have that burning and yearning inside of you, right?
And you cannot silence it.
Well, you can, because people do through all sorts of things.
Yes.
So,
Yes, you cannot silence it in the sense that if you do, you actually end up on a downward spiral. And I personally believe that's where mental health then kicks in, because it's like lost hope for tomorrow. You know, this is it, and I've just got to settle, and I've just got to be okay with it. You know, and like you said, you know, when you're surrounded by, you know, people who love you and life is good, like if you think of it on the surface, if you were to pull yourself out of the picture for a little while and look at your life as an overall, it's good. What are you complaining about?
yeah, well, we're not starving. We've got water running, and you know there are places where people are, you know, are unable to survive, you know, day to day. And I mean, it's true survival. So
Right.
yeah, so where's the balance between being complicit and complacent? You know,
Oof.
you know,
You hit the nail on the head right there.
Yeah.
That's it. That's exactly it. Well, I couldn't settle. Mm-hmm. Even though throughout the course of those 3 years I'd stopped singing, stopped playing piano, I really kind of retreated, you know, focused all my attention on trying to be the best mum that I could be with the limited resource that I had, you know, trying to be the best wife that I could be and support my husband in his new business. Deep down, I knew that there's got to be more. And I've got to figure out, how do I do this? How does this actually look? And then over time, we actually connected up with a gentleman who had moved from Africa just like us, had moved to the UK to start a church. And, I grew up in the church, so that for me was familiar. And he and his family were just such beautiful people. They had 2 gorgeous kids that were around the same age as our 2 boys. And we just connected really well with this amazing couple. And he gave me an opportunity once to sing. And I had this, oh my goodness. So maybe it's not a lost dream,
Yeah.
And it kind of forced me back in front of the piano, practicing and preparing a little song that I'd been working on. And then to actually be given that opportunity to sing and to play and do what I personally believed I had been put on the earth for was huge for me.
So how many years on, so, from your first child and fast forward to then, because I feel like that was probably a defining moment for you where you realised that the flame had still been burning.
Yeah, 3 years.
So, yeah.
It was a 3-year wait. And oh my goodness, to be back on the stage again and to have this opportunity to sing and to play, wow, it just unlocked that door for me. I felt inside, oh my word, okay, there is no holding back now. Like, you've got to make this work, girl.
You've taken the lid off.
Yeah.
But in so doing, doesn't that then make you a more whole human and more full? So actually a better wife, a better mother, because you are so much more, you are, your spirit and your heart is full. So
Yes.
it's not like you're giving up. You're actually giving to yourself to give.
Well, you no longer feel suppressed.
Yeah.
I felt like my cage had been opened.
And so how old are the boys now at this point?
Oh my.
No,
Okay.
when you're at that point.
At this point.
Yeah.
So my eldest would have been 3.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, my little one would have been newborn.
Okay. So then at this point, the snakes are out of the they're out of the jar. What do you do then?
Wow. Well, then I couldn't stop. Now, I'm playing every day. I'm writing music again. I felt like my home came alive. You're right. You're absolutely right. My family got the better version of me because I was no longer in my own prison cell. Now I was being authentically true to who I was, and I was now on this juggle of family life, being a mum, helping my husband in business, being a wife, but also pursuing this dream that I, had so deep in my heart from the time I was tiny. And so it was an exhilarating time. Like, we walked into the next, 3-4 years of music being a prominent part of our lives,
And I think that's, just to circle back of suppressed dreams and the choice between career and family, I think that's really the lesson here, is that you're a better version of yourself if you don't have to choose over the other. It naturally, there needs to be compartmentalisation for, honouring children and family, but you don't need to have one or the other.
Or the other, exactly.
To have the best version of yourselves, to have the best, the most abundance within your life, whatever that means to you, whatever the abundance definition means.
Yes,
for you,
exactly.
So.
And I think sometimes people don't put their foot forward because of fear of, but how's it going to impact, the rest of what I carry in my day-to-day, or I just don't have the capacity. No, but hang on. We're actually extremely high capacity people.
If we want.
If we want to be, exactly. And if we're willing to take those steps necessary to be able to do it all, we actually can, if we set our minds to it and plan and orchestrate it with the support of our loved ones, it can be done. So that's actually not a legitimate excuse if you think about it,
100%.
Right.
100%.
Yeah.
So then from that point, you're singing, you're songwriting, and the other layers to you are the coaching component. So how do then we come to the Nalini Tranquim, organisation that you are and all of the things that you do? So talk us through then the evolution of where you're at?
Yeah, look, it actually stemmed from particularly the coaching side of what I do, my own journey where I thought I had reached the slipstream of what I was meant to be doing, and was then offered a job as music director for this not-for-profit, and was songwriting and on the stage a lot throughout the course of the week. We hosted conference and events, and it felt like, yes, I'm in the groove of what I'm here for. But over time, something shifted in terms of my relationship with my boss, and he became extremely controlling and manipulative. And it was only years later that I realized that it was actually narcissistic abuse. I didn't realize it when I was in it, okay? So it was a very, very slow dripping of the tap, all right, over time. And I would have been working for him on staff for about 3 years, 4 years. And throughout the course of that time, I could see my identity, my confidence being chipped away. So it was daily verbal and psychological abuse that was happening.
Give us an example, because you're saying, you know, you're a smart woman, you're self-aware, and it happened over a long period of time, and it just a little creeper.
Yeah.
And so, an example for people that may be in this situation.
Yep. Okay. So, for example, would have performed over the weekend at a conference, for instance, and the people were so receptive to the music, and the atmosphere was electric, and we had an incredible time, or so we thought. And then following week, we're having team meeting, and so I'm in the room with all the other staff in the department. So we're talking, you know, maybe 20, 30 people in the room. And the boss would go around the room addressing specific things, and then he'd get to me and he would lambaste me in front of the whole team because of some little thing that happened during one of the songs. I don't know, maybe one of the musicians hit a dud note, and he would just come at me for that. And because it happened over such a long period of time, it got to the point where I wasn't convinced that I was actually the right fit for the role, and felt like I'm not delivering in what he's paying me for. I'm obviously not as good a musician as what I had thought. There was a ripple effect then in my home life, because I had all this trauma happening at work. I'd get home in the evening and be distraught by it. My kids would see that mum's not okay. My husband could see that mum was not okay. And it continued to chip and chip and chip and chip and chip.
So what would you say to somebody that said, why did you put up with it?
Yeah, exactly.
Because I think a lot of people have been in that situation, and you see it now in retrospection, but at the time.
Yeah. So here's the thing with narcissism, is you believe wholeheartedly that you're the problem. That it's not actually abuse, and that it's not actually that person's problem and his resentment towards you, or whatever his issue is towards you, that's the problem. So I didn't have the confidence to leave, which is crazy, because I didn't feel like I was delivering, but at the same time, I felt trapped, you know, because his stance was, you've got to get better, you know. I need you at the next event, and you've got to be better. You've got to be on your A game. So you better step up, and you better do this better, you know. And so instead of thinking, oh my gosh, this is abusive, I need to get out of it, it was, oh, okay, I need to get better, and I've got to work harder, and I've got to strive, and I've got to push, you know. So I'd come home in the evening, and then I'm practicing at my craft and stressing, and, you know, and just really trying to drive success. When actually there was nothing of me left.
And probably nothing that you could have done any differently.
Right.
To make a difference.
Right.
So what advice would you give to somebody who has been exposed to
Oh
a
my
narcissistic work environment or home environment?
Goodness me.
Yeah.
If this is resonating with anyone, my goodness, I just want to encourage you. In fact, I say this to my clients who are experiencing similar sort of settings, is take some time out for you. Go for a walk along the ocean, just do something for you. Grab a journal and a pen and just start to document why this resonates. Why does this resonate with you? Document some of the situations that you've experienced in your workplace where it's not too dissimilar to what I'm describing. And when you revisit it again, look at it from a bird's eye perspective, okay?
From an independent point of
Yes,
view.
yes. So remove emotion, remove, that heightened sense of, oh my gosh, could this possibly be abuse or is it me? Just remove yourself from that. So get some impartiality and have a revisit of your notes. Oh my goodness, it will be clear as day. And then my advice to you is get help and get out. Because for the long run, Vivian, if I can be brutally honest, it got to the point where I was suicidal.
Yeah.
Working for this man. I could not see a way out. I had to put food on the table for my family. I was absolutely convinced that I was fulfilling what I was meant to be fulfilling, that dream of mine from such a young age. So I couldn't possibly walk away from it. So I felt trapped. I felt like I was being strangled. And I couldn't get out. I had this sense that I can't get out. So it was a Saturday morning. I was preparing for another conference. My hubby was in the bathroom shaving, and I walked in. I leant on the wall, and I slid to the floor. Yeah. And I just said, I can't do this. I can't do this anymore. And that, for my husband, was the first real warning sign that, oh my God, it's not okay. And it set the ball in motion, because it was a matter of months when we found ourselves on the shores of Western Australia. And we just packed our bags. We packed our bags and we left.
So you had the benefit of a husband, a very clever, strong woman, but found yourself weak and trapped. So how do women, or even men who've been involved in these relationships, how do you get out? What did you do? I mean, I want to know practically. So you would have said to Sandra, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah, and that was the first step, and probably the most critical step. Because here's the thing, quite often, and I get a sense that society seems to push this, is we have to perceive to be doing okay. And so we suffer in silence. And we hide what's really going on. Even from our loved ones and those who are closest to us. We just put on the makeup and we put on the strong face and we put on the suit and we just we've got to just hustle, we've just got to push through this and hope for the best, The best thing I could have done in that moment was admit that I couldn't cope. And I think that in itself takes a great lot of courage.
Of course it does.
To own it. But it allowed my husband in. And he came in from a completely different viewpoint.
Which men beautifully do often. They're so perfunctory, aren't they?
Aren't they? But I was emotionally in the trauma and the whole scene that I could not see the wood from the trees, whereas he was coming in with a clean set of eyes. And he knew. He was like, I've got to get her out.
So what did you do?
So
what did you do then? Did you call in sick? Did you quit? What did you do?
Well, it was literally a matter of weeks when Sandra said to me, we're moving. We're getting out of here. So our
And
time
where were you
here is
living
done.
then? Where were
we
you
were
then?
in London.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. We said, we're done. We're getting out. We're going to have a whole new adventure. I'm taking my girl to Australia, and you're going to rest and you're going to recoup, and we're going to have a whole new life. And so I went in and told my boss, I think my time here is done. I think I've got to go. And it was a timestamp of about 7 months from when I quit, from when I, made it known that I was out, to when we actually left. And within that 7-month period, even though I was no longer on staff, man, was completely ostracized from all my colleagues, from everyone that I had known and loved over the years. It was about 7 years I was with them. And he told the rest of the team, stay away from her. She's trouble. She's bad news. And so it was a tough 7 months. But I had this glimmer of hope.
Because you knew it was the end. You knew that you were working towards an end
Yes.
point. So clearly then that had such an impact on the work that you do now.
Yes.
So you're able to really understand a woman's psychology, and it's not that you only work with women, and it's not that it's just about women,
Right.
but that's your focus.
Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about some of the work that you're doing with women in the coaching, but also in the human trafficking and all of the domestic violence.
Look, so coming to Australia was such a blessing for us as a family. It gave me that breath to just be a mum again, and to just focus on my family and to focus on healing. And it was a long journey of healing for me. It took me about 11 years to recover from,
That is a very long time.
Long time. And what I learned through that whole experience is that when you, particularly women, I can't speak for men, but particularly for women, when a woman experiences any kind of trauma or abuse, it has a knock-on effect on her identity and how she sees herself. And when her identity is knocked, her confidence is knocked. And when her confidence is knocked, she loses her voice. She loses her ability to impact and to speak life, because she's seeing everything from the lenses of that pain, right? And so I had to figure out who I was outside of that pain, outside of everything he had told me, outside of everything that he had spoken over me, outside of the rejection even from my colleagues and everybody that I had loved. I had to figure out, okay, who is Nalini outside of all of that? And so moving to Australia was almost like that stripping away, but not in a negative way. It was actually a really good thing, because it was like, okay, when there's nothing left, who are you? When there's no music left, who are you? And it then began my journey of getting beside men and women who were also navigating that very same question. Who am I? Who am I outside of title and position? And, I've coached executives who are killing it in their careers, but their marriages are in complete shambles, because all she sees herself as is this executive who's got to hit the numbers and who's got to deliver in the corporate sense. But in terms of relationship, no idea, came from an abusive background, no idea how to love and how to nurture family, And so it kind of just organically grew into this sphere where people were coming to me and just saying, listen, I need help. I don't know who I am in this particular area or this particular area, and I need help. And so it started off with one-on-one coaching. But I found this common thread throughout. Every single person that I was sitting with, we were having the exact same conversation. Identity. Who are you outside of it all? And I was like, there's got to be a quicker way, an easier way to do this.
But isn't that the metaphor for life? Everyone wants to know who am I and why am I here?
Yes.
Right? So
yes, exactly. Yeah. But I don't think we realise just how prominent a question that is, particularly when life's hurdles hit, and we fall and we struggle and we're finding ourselves trying to get back up and dust off the dirt. It's like identity gets stripped or chipped away slowly, until eventually, you're like in your 40s and you're going, who the hell am I?
The midlife crisis.
Right.
The classic midlife crisis.
No, so I was like, surely I can bottle what I've learned in this 11-year journey and through these sessions that I'm having with my clients, surely I can put it together in the form of a program of some sort that way then I'm able to replicate myself and get this resource into the hands of countless lives, like limitless lives around the world. And so I did. During COVID, I just pulled back and developed this program that has been written specifically for women. I have got a couple of other programs as well that are suitable for men. And oh my goodness, like the ripple effect of this program, because whenever somebody would approach me and say, listen, I need coaching in this area, I would say, right, come on, I need you to do this program. I'll work alongside you. And seeing the turnaround in these people, because it was like the light bulb was turning on. And I was like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is incredible. It was just breathtaking. And so unexpectedly, it's opened doors in the realm of working alongside not-for-profits, organizations who rescue and support women impacted from domestic violence, online sexual abuse, and human trafficking. You see, their focus is the rescue component. My focus is the restoration component, you know, getting her prepped and ready to go back out and be the woman that she's here for.
So, you know, you spoke about being broken, peeling back the layers. Who is Nalini without all of these titles? But arguably, when you're impacted so heavily, so negatively, emotionally, isn't it just Nalini 2.0 or female 2.0, like a better version of yourself?
100%.
Because you have these experiences, like you have all of this, you know, all of these multifaceted textures and hardships and heartaches. So it's almost like it's horrible, but it's a necessary part of your evolution and your growth.
Absolutely. I mean, I look at my songs now and there's a depth to them that I just didn't have before. You know, even journeying with my girls and my guys, I mean, I sat with a lad recently, just this week. He's just like, I don't know who I am, you know. I'm so low in the pecking order of my brothers and sisters, and who am I? I'm just like, mate, you've got your own voice. It's not about you now comparing yourself to your siblings. This is about who are you deep down, you know? And I think I wouldn't carry that depth, and the coaching wouldn't carry that depth and that wealth of knowledge and resource if it wasn't for that, you know? And I think that quite often happens, right? Is we go through these journeys, not for ourselves, but actually for others.
Correct. But I think it's just knowing when to pull the pin on, you know, that experience. But
yes.
I do want to talk to you a little bit about the coaching program for women.
Yeah.
So what are some of the case studies that you've experienced, obviously without mentioning names, some of the, so for somebody who's listening or watching that says, oh, that sounds really interesting, but I'm not sure if it's for me.
I had a woman reach out who, her husband lost his job, extremely narcissistic, like really taking it out on her.
So narcissism is such a commonly used word.
It is.
So what does it actually mean? Because some people go, oh, you're a, you know, and I'm not a narcissist. But what?
Okay.
And they're not bad people.
No,
they're not.
No.
And they're not even aware of what they're doing. I think half the time.
No, that's exactly right. I think the best way, look, without going into the psychology of it, they only see it from their perspective. And it's all about I, me, and myself and what I can get out of this, okay? So you don't feature in the equation, really. And so this woman reaches out to me and she said, oh, listen, I think I need your program. I'm really struggling in my marriage. I've got you know, my husband just, he says, you know, I'm not beautiful, I'm fat, you know, I'm not delivering as a mum, and it knocks me, like it floors me.
Oh,
and
my.
Right.
Like seriously,
right.
Of course it does. It's horrible.
No, she said, I was catching up with girlfriends the other day, and they always want to take a selfie when we get together, and I just can't be in the selfie. I just can't be in front of the camera. And I said to her, I'd love for you to do the program. I think it would be exactly what you need. Now, with the program, we work according to the pace of the individual. So whilst there is access to a community and a company of other women who have journeyed or are journeying through the program themselves, if she doesn't feel ready to open up in front of this collective of girls, it's totally fine. We go your pace. So she signs up to the program. It walks her through a masterclass where we address these issues. We talk about some of the stuff that we as women face in our day-to-day that has this chipping effect on our identity, right? So she's taking notes throughout the course of the masterclass, and I get a message from her afterwards, and she's like, oh man, I think I sobbed the whole way through that masterclass. Like, it was me to a T. And then off the back of the masterclass, the way the program is designed is it takes our girls on a 21-day challenge. And that's a 3-week period, because it's been scientifically proven that it takes 21 days to form a new habit if you then do it consecutively throughout the course of those 21 days. And this is about reprogramming here, you know? It's got nothing to do with external influences. It's about what we believe about ourselves in here, okay? So she said, okay, I'm ready for the 21 days. I'm going to do it. And part of it, obviously, is this community. And she said, I just don't feel comfortable. You know, your private Facebook group, that's all great, but I just don't feel comfortable posting or sharing any of this journey with anyone. So I responded and I said, it's fine. Why don't you just message me? Because we like to hold the girls to account. So let us know each day as you've undertaken your little action steps. Give us feedback, you know, because it shows that you're committed and that you're doing this. And we want to hear from you how it's going. So I said, okay, message me your accountability. You know, message me. Let me know how you're going each day. Don't worry about the group. So she joins the group, and her profile picture is just a black profile circle. No name, anonymous. And she messages me on the daily. So for the course of the first 7 days of the program, she's just sending me her daily accountability notes. And come day 7, she messages me and says, I think I need to post on the group. I think I need to share my journey with the girls. I was like, girl, do it. Your voice matters.
You don't need permission. Yeah.
Do it.
Yeah.
So she starts posting on the group, and I'm seeing these other girls just
Get
jumping
around her.
on and going,
Yeah.
girl, I hear you, man. That was me. I was there. I've been there. I've done that. And there was just this rallying of the troops, in a way.
That women do beautifully.
Oh, it was just so beautiful, so beautiful. Come the end of the 21-day challenge, she messages me and she says, I caught up with my girlfriends for lunch on Saturday. And it's the first time in years that I joined the selfie. Oh,
it's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
So that's just one story, but yeah, it has been breathtaking. I had a 70-year-old lady the other day catch up with a girlfriend of hers for coffee, and she said, I walked into the cafe with my head held high. She said, I was thinking to myself, who is this woman? You know? Oh my gosh, like we're never too old, right? We're never too old.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, and I do think, in fact, the older you are as a female, the more you need that sort of support and reassurance of self, and to feel really proud of how you evolve. Not even age, it's just evolution, isn't it? And we're only here for such a short period of time.
Yeah.
And so now I'd like to talk a little bit about what the work you're doing in the very heavy human trafficking environment. I mean, obviously, you know, I've had occasion to listen to people who have been on the front lines of trying to get girls out and online abuse. And look, it's something that's happening more and more now that people don't, it's so prevalent because of the accessibility of people being able to communicate online.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about what you're doing and what we all need to be aware of.
Oh, it's a big topic, eh? So I have not-for-profits who, like I said, their focus is the rescue. So they go in, they rescue these women, and some of the organisations actually have safe houses around the world in specific areas where these women are housed and looked after. quite often whilst they wait for visas, because they're often trafficked, you know, into different countries, whilst they wait for passports and visas and everything to be sorted for them so that they can then be returned to their families. And it's so evident off the back of multiple conversations that I've had throughout the course of this year with these agencies, is that whilst they are providing the rescue component, there is desperate need for an injection of value and love and support with these women, you know, one-on-one. And so the beauty of this program now is it allows me to get into the safe houses where these girls are and to provide this safe space, this community of women who will love them and support them regardless of their journey, but also help her in her wait before she goes back home to be able to do something practical towards the letting go of what's happened. You know, we don't negate what's happened. We acknowledge what's happened, and it's painful for a lot of them, and it's extremely traumatic. Now, I'm no trauma therapist, but I work in conjunction with trauma therapists and counselors and psychologists, okay? So whilst we acknowledge it, we also want to focus her gaze on what's life going to look like when you're returned home to your loved ones. You know, what does the future look like for you? Because your future is not determined by what's happened in the past.
You're not going to be defined by it.
Yes.
I do want to ask though, for anyone who's listening, they're like, oh, but isn't that stuff that happens?
No.
Right.
It's on our doorstep.
Tell us.
Yeah. I've got an agency at the moment who has a couple of safe houses where I lived in the UK. It's on our doorstep. It is literally on our doorstep. We have trafficking situations right here in Australia. You know, people that have come in that are slaves to their employers, but have been trafficked. You see, because it's not just about sex trafficking. It's not just, you know, in the sex industry. It is in all industries, unfortunately, and it is right on our doorstep.
So for those people who don't really understand, so people are being pulled to Australia to work across multifaceted industries.
Yep. Being promised the world.
Right.
Passports being taken from them on arrival. So now they're under control now. Now there's no getting away. Working for organisations for long hours throughout the course of the day. Very minimal pay. Quite often cash. So there's no record of them. And it is not okay. It is not okay. And so, yeah, it's heavy work. I'll be honest. I've had a few one-on-one sessions with some of these girls, but it's necessary. It's necessary work, you know. And so that is my heartbeat. My heartbeat is just coming alongside people who are at the end of themselves, don't have a sense of identity in who they are, quite often because of the trauma and abuse, and shifting their gaze and their self-belief. It's the self-talk that's critical. Yeah.
So it's happening in these shores, but it's happening offshore.
Yeah.
The work you're doing is absolutely incredible. What do you need in order to help these women rehabilitate and you know, find a new way of living and life and find themselves and find purpose and find value in themselves?
Yeah. It's a beautiful time to have this conversation, actually, because we're in the throes of setting up a foundation specifically for this work. And so financial resource, because when we partner with these not-for-profits, we are gifting the program to these organisations so that we can get it into the hands of these women for free. But, you know, I still need to put food on the table for my loved ones, and I want to journey with these girls and do a good job by them. And so we're building team. You know, I've got a team of women now around the world who are putting their hand up to this task. And so, you know, we've got wages now and we've got people to support.
Wonderful.
And so financial resource. So if anyone is watching this and feels led to give, then yes, we need that resource so that we can do what we do.
You are an incredible inspiration, Nalini. If there's anything that you could say to your 4-year-old girl stroking those keys, what would you say? What would you say to her?
I would say dream big and don't settle. Don't settle. Build those resilience muscles on the inside. And the only way we're going to build those resilience muscles is when we're faced with opposition, right? When we're faced with those difficult times. Quite often, we just want to quit. And we just want to go for what's comfortable. Yeah? Well, nothing of value comes easy. So you've got to fight for it. You've got to fight for it.
And for anyone that wants to, come and meet with you, what's the best way for them to meet you?
Probably through the website, I would say, yeah, or social media. So website, nalinitrancquim.com. And I'm on social media as well. So drop me a DM. Like, I'm very personable. I love people reaching out. So.
And what's the motto you live by?
Oh, what is the motto you live by? Gosh. Dream big and then do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what about the days where you didn't want to do it?
Do it anyway. Do it anyway. Yeah, do it anyway.
Oh, Nalini, you've been an absolute heart, just beautiful spirit. And I just, we're so grateful that people like you exist in this world. And if there's any way that you guys could help Nalini's plight and help the people that do need that backbone to continue to keep going, and then please jump on her website. And thank you again for being a part of the program, Nalini.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.